Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast where the Yankee bats finally come alive, able to prevent the sweep at home against the Detroit Tigers, taking the third game there by a score of 9-3. But of course, the backdrop of the whole thing, since this was the 24th year anniversary of 9/11, you had all that stuff. But of course, the visit by President Trump. So for all the good, bad, ugly, like them, don't like a whole thing, that was kind of the really main story of this game, visiting the Yankees before the game, and of course, him up in the luxury suite there. And again, people are probably going to be more focused on that than the game itself. And it kind of was the case there, but nevertheless, we'll get into the whole thing. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also available on YouTube, so go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there as well. So the Yankees' first two games against Detroit, this was going to be one of the, the leaner parts of this, what you'd call, quote-unquote, easy September schedule. Of course, the Yankees so far so good with that against both Houston and Toronto. Not so good against Detroit. Obviously getting, slapped around the first two games there. Really blowout scores. And, the scores don't tell the whole story. I mean, most of those games the Yankees were either tied or only down by two, pretty much late in the game. But really the swollen ankle for the Yankees in that one is the bullpen. In both games, as bullpen absolutely getting torched, letting the game get away where the offense really had no opportunity to come out to any sort of comeback in the late few innings there. And a little bit concerning there again, because if the Yankees have two problems, one of them, of course, and I highlighted most recently on the YouTube episode, one's going to be the defense. It's not a great defensive team, but another one is the bullpen. Now, they got the names, they got the players, but they still really haven't found that mix yet, and you still have guys that is not performing at the way they should be. One of them is Camilo Doval, specifically in the second game. Now, the first game, that one goes on Fernando Cruz, but you really can't get on him. I mean, he's been really great for the Yankees so far this season. Since coming back, from his stint on the IL, his last 5 appearances, he's been basically untouchable. So look, he has one bad game. It's just it's just bad. I put that more on the bad timing, everything else. But really, it's even after that what was going on, and they bring out Mark Leiter Jr. He throws 3 balls to the backstop there, allows another couple runs to score. I mean, the whole thing just got away from them. But yeah, the first game you could say yes, you could put that one on Fernando Cruz, but overall I can't say he's indicative of the whole bullpen problem the Yankees have right now. Whatever problems they do have, because again, he's been magnificent for them. Again, they say he's got the best split in the game and all that stuff. So he just had one bad game. You really couldn't put that one on him. But again, it's more concerning is that some of the other guys, like a Luke Weaver, like a Mark Leiter Jr., which, okay, we know what Mark Leiter Jr. is. You don't expect too much from him. But really, it's Camilo Doval, who, he was supposed to be performing like Bednar is, and he's just not. Now, I don't think he's a total loss at this point, and it's something like Devin Williams you can't consider putting there in a late inning situation as well, even though Boone has been doing that, especially during the Toronto series. But still, that's just going to be the second bugaboo of the Yankees, this bullpen right now. It's just, they got the guys, it's just, there's something that's a little missing there, and it's even Luke Weaver himself who, again, overall he says good, but he's just not as sharp as he was last season, and even he got toasted a little bit also in that second game. He just got so bad they had to bring in Austin Slater just to get a couple outs there in the ninth, just to get out of there and then just save a couple arms in that bullpen. So that is concerning there. I'm not going to push the panic button on that whole thing there. But if you look at those scores, though, yeah, they were completely lopsided. But though you really got 3 good starts in a row. Will Warren, again, pitched enough normal case he would win a game there. Only mistake really, he gave up a 2-run home run a little early on there after the Yankees took a 2-0 lead. Rendon got absolutely no run support. Yeah, he surrendered 2 runs there. But again, in normal situations, you would win that game. And of course, the Yankees getting a good bounce back start from Camp, where the bats finally came alive for him. And he had enough offense to get the win there. So all 3 Yankee starters really pitched well enough to get wins there. It's just games 1 and 2, the bullpen actually just completely fell apart. And the first one, again, I just can't go too crazy about that one because Fernando Cruz really has been good for the Yankees lately. It's just one bad game, so it's just a bad time to have a bad game. I'm not going to put too much on him for that one. The second one a little bit more concerning because, someone like Doval, who you brought in here, you're going to have him for a couple of seasons. We know he's been scuffling a little bit, but overall, been having an okay season with San Francisco. I mean, it was their closer. You would think it'd be a little bit better than we've seen so far for him. So you got a couple more weeks left to kind of keep throwing him out there a little bit in situations. Let him find it. Let him get some confidence, and gives yourself to have a really good bullpen come postseason there. But again, that was more disappointing than anything else. And, of course, the third game, obviously the Yankees not needing the bullpen there because they were able to jump out to a early lead, 4-1 lead there, and they just keep tacking on. But taking a step back there, of course, the whole deal, this was the 9/11 game, the 24th anniversary since September 11th, 2001. And of course, the backstory of the whole thing was President Trump was going to visit Yankee Stadium at this game. Now, I can't reveal how and who and what there, but I did have a good sense that President Trump was going to be at this game. I also got a little heads up notice about both the U.S. Open and him attending the Yankee game. I was a little skeptical of it. I was like, I could see the U.S. Open because it's kind of a small venue. It's a small little thing there. One match, you pop in there. Yankee Stadium's a bigger thing because, it's not only that he's visiting, but it's also, the teams sort of putting their neck out there a little bit. The New York Yankees, obviously Trump brings a lot of baggage. Again, I mentioned before, whether you like him or don't like him. A lot of controversy around him, and it's like, all right, are you going to stick your neck for him? Are you going to put his face on your association? Is that good for you? Is that bad for you? So you see a lot of people just not sure how to handle that, and I'm not sure how the Yankees are going to handle that. Were they going to dip their toe in the water a little bit? It's like, all right, yeah, there's in the seat, show him once or two and yes, and just don't talk about him the whole time. But I think the Yankees, fair to say, they kind of went all in on this one. Obviously, before the game, going down to visit the locker room there. Saw him do the rounds there. Met with a lot of the Yankee players. Obviously, the captain, Aaron Judge, was there. Now, noticeably, from both in the locker room and, I guess, later on up in the luxury suite. Well, first of all, I'll say get back to the locker room. Noticeably absent was Giancarlo Stanton. Now, Stanton also hit a home run in this game, but we don't know the full story. Does he like Trump? Doesn't like Trump? Doesn't want to be there? Now, look, obviously we know he has his aches and ills and stuff like that and pains. So, this is before the game, so guys could have been, in the batting cage. Guys could have been in, whatever. Supposedly Fernando Cruz was sitting there in his towel still, and they had to, almost yell at him to put his clothes on because the president's coming. So, some guys just could have been in the locker room still, and in the shower still. Maybe some guys in the batting cage. Some guys could be in the trainings room. Someone like Stanton probably underneath everything. He's probably getting all wrapped up in his ankles and stuff like that. So who knows why he wasn't there. But visibly, Stanton was not there. Now, if you look on, I guess, Trump's social media, I guess the Truth Social thing, that's kind of his baby there. I did post a lot of pictures on the whole thing, and they did take a whole team picture. I don't know if that was officially released yet, but they did take a picture there. And if you look at all the faces, looks like most of the guys are there, but again, visibly absent is Giancarlo Stanton, not there. And I mentioned up in the luxury suite. Now, I figured maybe Trump might throw out the first pitch or not. I guess that would up there. It turns out he didn't. Probably several different reasons why, security reasons, and of course, behind this whole thing, which has made this day even a little bit more crazy, is that you had the conservative activist Charlie Kirk there, which everyone's talking about the past couple of days, unfortunately, assassinated in Utah at an event. The guy was pretty big in Trump's circle. I mean, it's kind of like Trump's, maybe his kind of quote-unquote fourth son there, a young guy, very friendly with one of Trump's kids, and, the guy was very instrumental, you could say, in the election. Again, what he does, basically, he works a lot of college campuses, and he tries to turn, young college kids towards the conservative way. And if you want to go past this 2024 election, probably had a lot to do with Trump getting the win there. So this guy was very important to Trump. He's in Trump's inner circle, and probably, Trump got this guy on speed dial, and this guy gets shot in the neck. And then the next day, you got to show up at this event and do the 9/11 stuff in the morning, and then show up at the Yankee Stadium. So, a lot going on. So I guess maybe for security reasons, you don't want him out there on the field there and open things. So maybe in other circumstances, he would have thrown out the first pitch. But I guess in this situation, he's wanting to keep him, as guarded as possible. So he's up there in the luxury box. And if you saw in front of him, there were 3 bulletproof panels in front of him. And up there in the luxury box as well. Now, early on, looks like he had a little company up there to his right, if you noticed. That was, former Fox News news anchor, now kind of independent guy, Bill O'Reilly. Obviously, he's a well-known Yankee fan. He goes to Yankee games a lot. But I guess, with his buddy Trump in town, I guess they went there. Then later on in the game, you saw Hal Steinbrenner up there about 2 seats away. I think that's the first time I've ever seen Hal at a Yankee game, crazy enough. And, of course, Yankee front office staff guy Randy Levine, who, I think he's been friendly with Trump for many, many years. I mean, even the two of them down in Florida. So that was no surprise at all. It was kind of Randy Levine guiding Trump around the locker room and all that stuff there. So that was kind of par for the course. You expected that. But again, like I said, the Yankees did go all in on the whole deal. Again, they had the national anthem to start the game there. And, they had one shot at Trump giving a salute there on the S Network. And I guess it was... I don't think he, the angle had him on was right. It was because his right hand was up to do the salute, so he was blocking his face. And I guess maybe saw himself on the jumbotron because you saw the crowd react a little bit. He flexed to the right there to show his face a little bit. And you figure maybe that'll be it. And those kind of sweep the whole thing under the rug, not talk about it anymore. But then a little later on in the game, I guess when the stadium got a little bit fuller, Then they kind of did give him a formal shout out. Yeah, I gotta say the crowd, you figure that obviously New York is a blue state, and again, Trump very controversial and a lot of stuff going on with these ICE raids and everything else, and you just don't know how he's gonna be received. I would put it 70-30. I think he mostly got cheered. I'll put the cheers at about 70, and maybe some of the boos underneath at 30 there. But that's good you're gonna get probably for New York and Yankee Stadium. And even later the game, because if you ever go to Yankee Stadium after the 6th inning, the grounds crew comes out, changes the bases, they do the YMCA dance. Well, that's kind of been his new theme song, I guess, over the past couple of years. So did a little of his dance moves there in the luxury box as well, so you got to dance as well. So you can really tell he's been waiting for this one. I remember I think it was during the 2020, the COVID shutdown season, there was some hubbub that even though there was no crowd, and that's probably why they're going to do it, supposedly he was going to come out to throw a first pitch in a game against the Red Sox that never came to fruition. That kind of died out, and there was really nothing for that. But you could tell he's kind of been waiting for this game, waiting for this moment. Obviously through the old days, he was a New York Yankee fan. He used to go to the game a lot all the time there. But of course, since then with politics and all this stuff down in Washington, and plus, the Yankees just, since they haven't won a World Series since 2009, there's been no reason for them to go to the Oval Office. So, there hasn't really been an opportunity for Trump to really have his Yankee Stadium moment. But you could tell he's been really salivating for this one. And you could tell he really enjoyed it. He even apologized down in the locker room for bringing the Red Sox into the Oval Office, almost like saying, what am I supposed to do? I'm the president. They won the World Series. Got to bring them in. All that stuff there. So I think he enjoyed himself. And yeah, again, the Yankees, to their credit, went the whole way with the whole thing. They didn't try to hide him or kind of just bury him in the corner or something like that. They pretty much went all out on the whole thing, which I was a little surprised with, but. Nevertheless, they did, and even the game before there, when Charlie Kirk got killed, putting him up on the Jumbotron there. Again, maybe that's just setting up the way things were going to go with Trump the day after. That was probably not expected as well. So, kind of a crazy day, but more importantly, Yankees salvage that final game, 9-3. Don't get swept at home, and now face up a big series against the Red Sox. Now the Yankees, because they lost 2 out of 3 and didn't get a little help from Toronto up there, Yankees now slipped back to 3 games back in the AL East. And Boston Red Sox, who they face now this weekend up in Fenway. Fenway's only half game back from the Yankees, so Red Sox have a good weekend at home. Yankees could possibly get leapfrogged and find themselves in third place come Sunday or Monday there. So I think this is a better version of the Yankees than last time Yankees and Red Sox hooked up there. And obviously the good news about this series that you didn't have to use Bednar. Since the Yankees, all these games scores were blown out, and we've seen Boone go to him to multiple innings, so that's the good news up in Fenway. I think you could use Bednar not only twice during the series, but you could probably use him for multiple innings if you want to bring him out early there. Gonna like this the way they have things set up. Obviously, you have Max Fried available during this game. I guess you'll just maybe see if you could at least try to make your hay against those first 2 games there, and then hold your breath with Will Warren. And other news for the Yankees. Looks like, we got a little bit more insight on this whole Volpe situation. We did report this back. They called it back in the day. It was a jammed shoulder. That was back in early May. I think he was diving for a ball. And it was a situation where I think maybe they had to give him 1 game off. He didn't have to go to IL or anything like that, but he did, quote-unquote, felt a pop. Now, I guess they looked at the shoulder a little bit closely now. It looks like he does have a torn labrum in the left shoulder, which, again, has torn even a little bit further since, I guess they took the MRI originally back in early May. Now, is this an excuse why he hasn't been good? Probably not. I don't know. It was like he was Babe Ruth before this early May injury, and of course we've seen him struggle the whole way. Now, a couple of things to note there. I meant it's in his left shoulder. Obviously, if he was throwing with his right arm there, maybe that would be more telling. But I guess, him defensively going, reaching his body across with his glove to go get a ball, I guess that would affect that. So maybe it affects his defense in some way. And look, if it's something that's paining you and you're swinging a heavy bat there against a ball that's going home at 100 miles per hour, I guess that also hurts a little bit too. So I'm not going to make excuses for him. That's the reason why, but it looks like at least it might explain a little bit. I don't know. It's just hard to say again because, we've seen Volpe. He's pretty much just what he's always been. He's been about a 200, 210, 212 hitter, so I can't say this shoulder injury is, the reason why he's been underperforming and having some yips in the field there and again being up there leading almost all majors in errors there, but it would explain a little bit. Now the only small note that maybe some fans would like about that maybe at some point they got to put him on the IL or maybe they have to shut him down outright. I mean, this tear keeps getting a little bigger and bigger. That doesn't really seem like good news. Wouldn't you want to at least shut him down and protect him for the future if he has a future in pinstripes? And of course that would open the door to Cabrera, who scored a couple runs in this final game, and a lot of Yankee fans are saying it should get more playing time. Well, this would be a reason to put him in there if you need to shut down Volpe. Maybe in a way it might almost be a blessing in disguise, not that you're rooting for Volpe to be hurt or anything like that, but it is a possibility that's out there, and it would explain a lot for the Yankees. So there we go. So that's the Detroit series. Again, not a good series for the Yankees, but that third game, a lot going on there. Just kind of out of the world stuff with the 9/11, which you have that hanging over. But of course, President Trump visiting the team. But overall, I think it turned out to be a good night. Was this something that probably would have happened in his first term? No, probably not. I'm sure the Yankees would want to distance themselves from him. But I think some time has passed, and it is what it is. And I guess at some point, this had to happen, and it happened. And interestingly enough, it looks like next year's 9/11 game will also be at Yankee Stadium, and it'll be a game between the Yankees and Mets, which is quite fitting. And does Trump come back? Because 25 is more of a hard number than 24, so does it come back again? Maybe. We'll see. Catch you next episode.